My great-granddad said he could soar like an eagle and sing like a wild canary. Well, my great-grandma thought that was one tall tale too many. She said great-granddad couldn't do either one of those things, but he sure could strut like a turkey. At one time or another during the year, nearly 300 species of birds live here in the state. They range in size from the ruby-throated hummingbird that's about the size of my thumb to bald eagles with wingspans of 7.5 feet. Even though there are many different sizes and colors of birds, they all have some things in common. Birds hatch from eggs. They have beaks or bills. They have wings and feathers. And they don't have any teeth. My dad used to say that seeing a redbird would bring you good luck. Well, a lot of people must feel pretty lucky because a cardinal is a common sight. Did you know the cardinal is the official state bird in 7 states, including Illinois? Besides that, the cardinals, or the redbirds, are 2 of the most popular names for school sports teams in the whole country. Maybe everyone is so fond of cardinals because they brighten up a cold winter day with a splash of color. Cardinals stay here all year. They're one of the few songbirds who sing in the winter. In spring, the cardinal must believe it's the early bird that gets the worm. They start singing an hour before the sun comes up. When you're trying to spot a cardinal, you don't need to look very high in the trees. You'll see them along fences or in the bushes in your yard. They're a common sight at bird feeders in the winter. The redheaded woodpecker could drill right into this. With their bright red head and their black and white body, the redheaded woodpecker is one of the easiest members of the woodpecker family to identify. When they aren't busy being the air hammer of the forest, redheaded woodpeckers don't spend much time enjoying the peace and quiet. They like to keep things stirred up. They spend a lot of time fighting with starlings and other woodpeckers. The redheaded woodpecker will scold you while you're walking in the woods, a lot like blue jays will. In fact, they even sound a little like blue jays. A few redheaded woodpeckers stay here year-round. Some migrate as far south as Florida. Did you know that the great horned owl can turn its head so far around it can see things almost directly behind itself? The great horned owl gets its name from the 2 tufts of feathers on its head that look like horns. The great horned owl is the 2nd largest member of the owl family, with a wingspan of almost 4.5 feet. Predators hunt other birds and animals for food. Great horned owls are predators that hunt mostly at night. They eat everything from bugs to woodchucks. When you hear somebody talk about the wise old owl, think about this. Great horned owls are one of the few creatures that prey on skunks. They don't seem to mind getting sprayed. In fact, skunk may be their favorite food. Whew. Unlike other birds, the female great horned owl is bigger than the male. If you're out at night and hear 2 great horned owls hooting, the one with the deepest voice is the female. Great horned owls are one of the first birds to nest every year. Some of them nest in late January. The bobwhite, or quail, is one of the easiest birds to imitate because it always says its name. Bobwhite, bobwhite. If you hear a bobwhite calling, whistle back. Chances are it'll answer you. Bobwhites live in groups called coveys. A big covey may have 15 or 20 birds in it. Bobwhites are more at home on the ground than they are in the air. They nest on the ground and often run from danger instead of flying. Because they're found almost everywhere east of the Rocky Mountains, quail are the favorite game birds of many hunters. Coveys are found in the brush at the edge of wooded areas and in tall grasses where the bobwhite's natural camouflage can work to its best advantage. When something scares the covey, all the birds hold on the ground till the last possible second. Then they fly up all at once in all different directions, kind of like somebody threw up a handful of big confetti. If you don't see it coming, a covey exploding into the air gives you quite a jolt. Some old-timers say bobwhites do that to confuse predators. When all of them scatter at once, it's hard to focus on a single bird. People are building bluebird houses to help save eastern bluebirds. Bluebird houses like this are one of the reasons the eastern bluebird is making a comeback. You'll find these houses attached to fence posts or fastened to trees. The eastern bluebird population has declined in part because house sparrows and starlings have driven them away from their traditional nesting areas. Bluebirds migrate. They head for the sunny south in late September and come back in early March. The bright blue eastern bluebird is a welcome sight after a long, cold winter. They don't like cold weather very much, so when you see one, spring is just around the corner. Canada geese, honking overhead in their V formation, is another sign that the seasons are changing. When they fly south for the winter, Canada geese have been known to cruise at altitudes as high as 29,000 feet. Canada geese fly at about 45 miles an hour, and they can stay in the air a long time. Sometimes they can fly 1,000 miles without stopping. Whew. Wind resistance at the head of the V is so great that the lead goose can only fly there for about half an hour at a time. When it gets tired, the lead goose moves back in the V where the wind resistance is less, and another goose moves up to take the lead. After a day or two of serious flying, Canada geese find a place where they can rest up. If there's plenty of food, they may stay a week before they take off again. Because Canada geese migrate to so many different places, goose hunting is popular with hunters from California to the Chesapeake Bay. Canada geese instinctively know where they're going when they migrate. They mate for life. The same pair of geese and their offspring return to the same general area year after year. The ruby-throated hummingbird is the smallest bird in the state. Ruby-throated hummingbirds have a needle-like bill and long tongue to remove nectar from flowers. They're especially attracted to red flowers. You may have heard that ruby-throated hummingbirds never stop flying. Well, that's not true. But it is true that a migrating ruby-throated hummingbird can fly 500 miles non-stop across the Gulf of Mexico. Hummingbirds are the only birds that can fly backwards. They can even hover like an insect. They get the name hummingbirds because their wings beat so fast they hum. Hummingbirds can beat their wings almost 5,000 times a minute. Hummingbirds are real tough guys. Maybe they never looked in a mirror to see how small they are. When it comes to defending their territory, hummingbirds will even attack owls and hawks. You'll probably see some kind of bird almost everywhere you go. Many species have adapted to many different environments. The birds you'll see depend upon where you live and where you look. You won't see a Canada goose sitting at your bird feeder or an owl swimming on a lake, but you might see a cardinal in a bush or a redheaded woodpecker drilling in an old tree. Once you learn to recognize them, you'll be surprised at how many different birds live near you. My great-granddad really couldn't soar like an eagle, but oh, how he wanted to. He used to say that someday people would figure out how to fly. Well, he was right. People have learned how to fly. Today, it's pretty common. But not just everyone has learned how to do this.